Good evening. This is Primetime News on TV1. I'm Jamal Ratnayaka for the Newsfirst team. Now, yesterday during our Primetime News Bulletin, we shed light on a group of people in the Alagamur village in Kakirava who are in dire straits as a result of the curfew that has been imposed in the country and the current situation in the country given the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. Now, most of the residents in the Alagamur village in Kakirava are daily wage earners, and their situation has worsened as a result of the curfew that has been imposed in the country as of now. Once this revelation was made last night, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has instructed Minister S.M. Chandrasena to look into the plight of these people and to issue a response and to take action regarding this particular group of people. Let's take a look. The Sirasa Media Network showed us how the locals in Kakirava, Maha Alagamur and Madagama were inconvenienced due to the prevailing situation. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa requested me to look into the matter. I assure you that I will look into this matter and work towards providing the necessary facilities to them tomorrow. While we commend the President for the swift and prompt action that he has taken in advising the minister to look into the plight of the people, we hope to see a favorable response on the part of the minister where he would look into the plight of the people and offer a favorable solution and follow the instructions of the President. We will also be drawing your attention towards a situation where a 13-year-old girl in Thanamalvila was molested. Accordingly, 5 people, including a local government politician, has been arrested pertaining to the incident, and they have been remanded until the 16th of this month. Further, we will be drawing your attention towards a new opinion which has surfaced on the general election, which is currently on hold. We will also be updating you on the COVID-19 situation in Sri Lanka, the relief process that is in place to provide relief to the people affected as a result of COVID-19, and most importantly, we will be taking a look at the politicization or the political intervention that has occurred during carrying out the mechanism of providing relief to the public as a result of COVID-19. But before all of that, let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
President's Secretary informs National Elections Commission to decide election date that Supreme Court's determination is not required. All individuals who violate curfew to be directed to 14 days mandatory quarantine. Pharmacies to remain open tomorrow. Cooperatives refuse approving goods without political approval.
In our top story for this evening, Secretary to the President, Dr. P.B. Jayasundara, has informed the National Election Commission that there is no need to consult the Supreme Court regarding the date of conducting the general election. This was in response to a letter sent by the Chairman of the National Election Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya.
The general election, which was scheduled to be held on the 25th of April, was postponed due to COVID-19. The NEC earlier announced that the election could be held on any date after the 14th of May. According to the Constitution, the new Parliament cannot be convened on the 1st of June as required by the Constitution, which states that the new Parliament should be convened 3 months from dissolving the Parliament. Chairman of the Election Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, in a letter said that if the new Parliament is to be convened on the 1st of June, the general election must be held on the 27th or 28th of May, and that the preparation for the poll should commence on the 20th of April. However, the poll's chief stated that these deadlines could not be met owing to the current situation of the country. Accordingly, Deshapriya requested the President to resolve this issue by seeking an opinion from the Supreme Court. Secretary to the President, Dr. P.B. Jayasundara, responding to the NEC chairman, emphasized that it is the responsibility of the Election Commission to decide on the date of the election. The letter noted that the President does not intend to intervene in the affairs and responsibilities of the National Election Commission. Citing Section 24 of the Parliamentary Elections Act, the Secretary to the President said the election can be held even on the 15th day after the day on which the election was scheduled to be held. Dr. P.B. Jayasundara reiterated that conducting an election is a sovereign right of the people. The Secretary added that he was surprised to see the letter was copied to several other parties and issued to the media before reaching the Secretary's office. He informed the NEC that taking into consideration the above-mentioned facts, there is no need to seek an opinion from the Supreme Court under Section 129 of the Constitution.
A debate has ensued whether Parliament should be reconvened, taking into account the current situation in the country. Proponents and opponents of the issue expressed their opinions during a social media debate organized by Mantri.lk today.
Yes, Parliament must be reconvened. That is fundamental. Our governance structure is like a three-legged stool. One of those legs is the legislature. You take one out and the stool will fall. There is a very specific provision in our constitution for instances like this when Parliament has been dissolved to reconvene. In other countries, people are referring to other countries. In other countries, legislation has been passed urgently. We can do that. We need to reconvene Parliament under the laws that are available for that purpose and address the situation of not being able to hold the election within the deadline that has been prescribed in the Constitution. It's only the legislature that can address that situation.
I have spoken on this before. The President can only reconvene a dissolved Parliament to make amendments to the Public Security Ordinance. As per his opinion, he can decide whether such amendments need to be made. As of now, there is no need to do this because it is a health issue. There have also been periodical meetings with party leaders until this point. The argument is that he can disregard the proposals, but what happens is if he disregards proposals made in Parliament, you will make the same allegation.
Now, with regard to convening Parliament, what Dr. Vijayadas Rajapaksa said is in Article 155(4), where a state of public emergency is declared, then automatically Parliament is convened within 10 days to approve that. But there is yet another clause, Article 70, sub 7, which provides specifically for instances like this. And that says where an emergency of such a nature, where Parliament ought to be convened. I'll just read that and it makes very, very clear. If at any time after the dissolution of Parliament, the President is satisfied that an emergency has arisen of such a nature that an earlier meeting of Parliament is necessary. The emergency mentioned there is obviously not the state of emergency that is declared under PSO. An emergency of such a nature means any emergency of a nature where Parliament needs to be convened earlier. He may by proclamation summon Parliament. And that Parliament that is so summoned will remain a Parliament until that emergency ceases, terminates, or until the elections are held.
Following a decision made by the Presidential Task Force on Essential Services, pharmacies will remain open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. tomorrow as well.
All pharmacies located in the towns of Ratnalana and Moratua were open this morning.
I believe that it is good if pharmacies are kept open to purchase medicines as required.
This relief was also provided to the locals in Anuradhapura.
This is very good. We appreciate the government for doing something like this.
Pharmacies located in the town of Mathura were open this morning. However, customers claim that there is a shortage of medicinal drugs.
It is good that the pharmacies are kept open. We didn't get the medicines that we ordered over the phone.
This was the situation opposite pharmacies in the town of Kurunegala today.
It is good that they decided to open pharmacies.
This was the response from locals with regard to the relief they obtained when purchasing medicine.
The required medicine was not available.
මෙම ඇදිරිනීතිය පටන් ගත්තේ 19 වෙනිදා එදා සිට අද දක්වා කාලය තුල
Curfew was imposed on the 19th of March. From that day onwards, we have arrested around 19,000 curfew violators. During the last 24 hours ending at 6 a.m., around 1,700 suspects had been arrested for violating curfew. These figures show that some people are still not abiding by the curfew regulations. It has been observed that most of the curfew violators were from the Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa and Gampaha districts. The police hopes to take strict legal action in keeping with the quarantine and prevention of disease ordinance. If anyone is arrested from tomorrow onwards for travelling between districts without a valid curfew permit or is misusing the curfew permit and provisions to use their service IDs, they will be sent to quarantine centres for 14 days.
විතා කරමින් යම් දිස්ත්‍රික්කයකින් තව දිස්ත්‍රික්කයකට ගමන් කරන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා නම් එමන් නැත්නම් තමන්ට දී ඇති හැඳුනුම්පතෙන් ලබා දී ඇති සහනය අවභාවිතා කරමින් උත්සාහ කරනවා නම් එවැනි අය දින 14 කාලයකට නිරෝධායන ක්‍රියාවලියකට යොමු කිරීමට කටයුතු කිරීමට අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
Curfew imposed on 18 districts was temporarily lifted for a period of 10 hours today. This was the situation observed in each of those districts during that time period.
In comparison to previous days, there was a decline in the number of locals crowding the towns in the Anuradhapura district.
We have been standing here from 6 a.m. today. Banks have not been opened yet. We request the banks to support us at least for a day.
In the Kurunegala district, long queues of people gathered opposite supermarkets adhering to health guidelines. After curfew was temporarily lifted, locals crowded the streets in the town of Ampara today. The Ampara public market was set up at the H.M. Veerasinghe grounds today to ensure the safety of the general public. This was the situation in the Galewala town this morning. Compared to previous occasions, the Mathura town was crowded today.
Curfew is reimposed at 4 p.m. and banks are only opened at 9 a.m. The queues stretch out to the next road. We have been standing here since 5 a.m. in the morning.
Long queues were also witnessed opposite pawning centres in the town of Hikkadua. Locals crowded the streets in the town of Trincomalee today to purchase essential goods. However, locals claim the price of fish and vegetables were higher than the usual rate.
Fish, vegetables and coconuts are all very expensive.
Steps have been taken to seal all licensed liquor stores in the central and southern provinces. This decision was made due to certain illegal activities taking place in the vicinity of liquor stores.
Assistant Excise Commissioner for the Central Province, Upul Seniviratna, said that more than 500 liquor stores will be sealed. Assistant Excise Commissioner of the Southern Province, Channa Veerakkodi, told Newsfirst that all licensed liquor stores in the southern region will also be sealed. He noted that this decision was reached to prevent unlawful acts from taking place in the vicinity of liquor stores at night. The Excise Commissioner General Kapila Kumarasinghe has instructed all provincial assistant commissioners to take necessary action to prevent excise offences and violation of liquor licences.
Taking a look at the COVID-19 update in Sri Lanka, one solitary case of COVID-19 was reported this evening, and with the latest discovery, the total number of COVID-19 cases in Sri Lanka rose to 190. 134 active patients are currently receiving treatment at hospitals across the country, while 242 others who are suspected to have contracted the virus are under medical observation. Meanwhile, 49 people have fully recovered from the virus.
A group of 28 people from Suduvela Jayala were directed for quarantine today. The group has had contact with a patient who had tested positive for COVID-19 on a prior occasion and had been evading the authorities. The group, which was arrested following a raid carried out in Suduvela today, were directed to a quarantine centre which has been established at Sri Lanka Navy Camp in Oluville, Kalmune. 25 people out of the 28 are aged under 30 years. The villagers, which were placed under isolation following the spread of COVID-19, still remains isolated. The areas of Telambugahawatta in Akurana, Atalugama in Kalutara, Kadumayan Kulam in Puttalam and Thavadi in Jaffna have been placed under isolation.
දන්නවා නොබෝ දිනකින් සිංහල දමිළ අවුරුද්ද එළඹෙනවා අවුරුදු 9 එළඹෙනවා.
We are aware that the Sinhala and Tamil New Year is fast approaching. However, at the time when we are dealing with COVID-19, we should think carefully about celebrating the festival this year. The Chinese New Year, which is celebrated across many countries, could not be held this year. This was after the Chinese government had completely suspended all celebrations. Accordingly, the Sri Lankan government requests its citizens to celebrate the New Year and to observe its ritual among their respective families. This is an exceptional situation. It is the responsibility of all of us to control this situation. People will not be able to visit relatives and engage in shopping due to this. It is inappropriate to do so. That is because we need to mitigate the spread of the coronavirus in order to eliminate it from the country.
මොකද මේ සමාජ අරතර තත්ත්වය දිගින් දිගටම පවත්වා ගැනීම අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා මෙම රෝගය සම්පූර්ණයෙන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවෙන් ඉවත් කර ගැනීම සඳහා.
As the world looks for answers to battle COVID-19, a new scientific study is offering an explanation as to why the virus seems to spread rapidly in some countries and not in others. Up next is a special report compiled by Newsfirst.
Why has Spain had nearly 15,000 deaths from the coronavirus pandemic, while Portugal's death toll is less than 500? Such a disparity in numbers within one region is mysterious, but it could be in part explained by the different use of a vaccine in the two nations. Not a vaccine against COVID-19, but the decades-old tuberculosis vaccine, BCG. Euronews reports of a new scientific study that has discovered a possible correlation between countries where it is mandatory to be vaccinated against tuberculosis, also called the Bacillus calmette-guerin or BCG, and the impact of the new coronavirus. The study's authors noted that countries without universal policies of BCG vaccination have been more severely affected compared to countries with universal and long-standing BCG policies. Italy, the country with the highest number of deaths from COVID-19 with over 17,000, has never universally applied tuberculosis vaccination. Japan has reported 63 deaths from coronavirus and has taken less stringent containment measures and has a universal tuberculosis vaccination policy. The researchers also compared Iran to Japan, two countries that have applied universal BCG vaccination but at different times. Japan started its universal BCG vaccination policy in 1947, while the Iranian policy was put in place in 1984. The report noted that countries that have a late start of universal BCG policy had high mortality, consistent with the idea that BCG protects the vaccinated elderly population, adding that they also had found that BCG vaccination reduced the number of reported COVID-19 cases in a country. A team of Australian researchers announced last week that they had started testing the tuberculosis vaccine on a large scale to see if it can protect healthcare staff from the coronavirus. French scientists began developing the BCG vaccine in 1908. The name BCG, Bacillus calmette-guerin, comes from the names of two bacteriologists involved, Albert Calmette and Camille Guerin. According to the epidemiology unit of the Ministry of Health of Sri Lanka, the BCG vaccine became mandatory in 1949 and was introduced to newborns in 1963.
Now, the BCG started in Sri Lanka since 1949. So, we have been giving BCG to infants at birth, for the neonates at birth in the hospital. So, our BCG has been given in the hospitals. Even right now, we are giving BCG in hospitals at birth. And our coverage is about 95%. So, we are reaching almost 100% coverage in hospitals where we can give the BCG vaccine. So, that's the usual program in Sri Lanka. It is in the national immunization schedule. And we are immunizing each neonate at birth in the hospital.
You can find a lot more information on this story at Newsfirst.lk.
Joining me this evening for a quick chat on COVID-19 is Dr. Shirani Chandrasiri, President of the Sri Lanka College of Microbiologists. A very good evening to you, Dr. Shirani, and welcome to the show. Starting off, Dr. Shirani, right now there are discussions about conducting the antibodies test to diagnose COVID-19 patients in Sri Lanka. However, three organizations, that is the Ceylon College of Physicians, Sri Lanka College of Microbiologists, as well as the Sri Lanka Medical Association advises otherwise. You all say that it's important to stick to the PCR test that is carried out by the MRI at present. Why is this?
PCR test is the validated test, approved test by a lot of organizations, including World Health Organization. It becomes positive very early, and even in elderly or immunocompromised, it gives a positive result. Whereas this is a new virus, we don't have good antigen tests or antibody tests. So far, actually yesterday WHO released its latest on immunodiagnostics and antigen antibody testing. That also it says it's still in for research purposes only. They do not recommend any test because we don't have any reliable test at the moment. Our standing is given for the moment.
But the detection of antibodies to diagnose COVID-19 infected is much more quicker than a PCR test, Dr. Shirani.
Yes, that you can call, because sometimes it takes equal time, but sometimes you can develop faster tests. But
so let's say, Dr. Shirani, you all are suggesting that the PCR test is a way to go about as far as COVID-19 patients detection is concerned. But however, private hospitals in Sri Lanka which have the PCR testing facilities are not being given the green light by the health authorities to conduct the tests in question. What is the reason behind this?
I think Director General of Health Services explained the reasons for this. For one thing, at the moment, our epidemiological surveillance is very strong, and government hospitals are doing it in a very responsible manner. Actually, it's not prohibited. They are allowed to admit the patients and send the samples to government centers for testing, actually with the ceiling of the price also. But the way you want, like I think fasting blood sugar, you come, give the sample, go home and try to check it from the internet, that type of thing I think you must be thinking. At the moment with our surveillance, it's a bit difficult.
But don't you think, Dr. Shirani, it's prudent for private hospitals to be given the green light to carry out the test so we can increase the number of patients who are being tested positive or negative to be found out in this time frame, which is quite imperative?
At the moment, most important thing is to curtail the spread of the disease. So like the serological testing, these things also evaluated by Director General of Health Services and a team of experts every week. So they will decide depending on the development of the situation.
Now, 1.5 weeks ago on Face the Nation, which is aired on TV1, Dr. Jairwan Bandara said that they have the facility, the Medical Research Institute has the facility to conduct approximately 1,500 tests as far as the PCR tests for detection of COVID-19 patients are concerned. However, they are only carrying out 300 tests at present. And there seems to be a mix of opinion or difference of opinion between the GMOA, the Sri Lanka Medical Association, the College of Microbiologists, about the number of tests that could be carried out in Sri Lanka at present.
Actually, the testing started early, but we did not have a lot of antigen detection PCR kits. PCR kits are donated by Professor Malik Piris. With that we started. So depending on the stocks, the number of tests we can carry out was limited and number of stations also limited. But now there are a lot of stations coming up. More than 10 stations around the country are able to test for this organism. So with that, I think we have the capability.
Now, Dr. Shirani, the most important organizations in Sri Lanka are the Ceylon College of Physicians, the Sri Lanka College of Microbiologists, the Sri Lanka Medical Association. All these three organizations are quite big organizations in Sri Lanka as far as community diseases are concerned. Does your organization, the Sri Lanka College of Microbiologists, included in the presidential task force to combat COVID-19?
We are in the technical task force. Dr. Jude Jayamaha and I represent the technical task force.
And what is your role in this technical task force?
It has various groups. We are in screening and diagnostic group and disinfection group.
Dr. Shirani, right now a 15-minute rapid test. Now you all are not in favor of the detection of antibodies to diagnose COVID-19 infected patients, but a 15-minute rapid test has been introduced by the FDA in the United States right now to detect COVID-19 patients. Now, is that something that the Sri Lanka College of Microbiologists would say yes to in the near future?
Yes, it's another molecular diagnostic test, not serological, though it's very short test. But FDA just approved it. The machines, they have to come into the market.
Now, Dr. Shirani, there is some good news as far as Sri Lanka is concerned. The number of patients who are detected as far as COVID-19 is concerned is reducing drastically. So this is good news, isn't it?
Touchwood, yes.
Touchwood, it's good news. So what can you say to the authorities at present and also the Sri Lankan people who are watching the show right now? Must they be complacent, thinking that we are all in the right track, on the right line as far as fighting COVID-19 is concerned?
The measures we have taken actually correct. It's very good response, very organized response. We have done a very dedicated work compared to developed countries. I think that is because our preventive side is stronger than in any Western country. But still we are not out of the wood. So we must continue the social distancing, detecting cases, isolating, washing our hands, all that we have to continue. We can't become complacent.
Now, Africa is one of the countries that are least affected as far as COVID-19 is concerned. And the conspiracy theory behind this is the fact that they treat malaria patients quite significantly in the African continent. Hydroxychloroquine as well as chloroquine, which is used to treat malaria patients, are being used rapidly in the continent at present. Is this a proper analogy to reach into, Dr. Shirani, as far as the fighting of COVID-19 is concerned the world over?
At the moment, I don't think we have enough evidence to discuss it. Yes, hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine is used in treatment now, but compared to Europe, Africa affected a bit late. So we'll wait a little bit longer before giving any decisions.
Dr. Shirani, my final question to you is, now there are approximately around 50 people who have recovered from COVID-19 being infected in Sri Lanka, and that's good news because the recovery rate goes up. That means the immunity also of the people in Sri Lanka goes up as well, in line with that. Can a fully recovered patient infect another patient in the near future? Could he be a carrier of the COVID-19 in the future?
Actually, the people we consider as recovered and discharged, they are tested by 2 PCR tests, and when they are negative, only they are discharged. So from them, spreading the disease is very unlikely.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shirani Chandrasiri, President of the Sri Lanka College of Microbiologists, for joining us this evening on the show for a quick chat on COVID-19. To keep the body in good health is a duty, otherwise we shall not be able to keep our mind strong and clear. The College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka has said that the lockdown strategy in the country is only useful to flatten the curve and not a permanent solution. The medical body highlighted that simultaneous case detection, contact tracing, as well as quarantine should also be employed to curb the spread of the virus.
The College of Community Physicians in a statement listed out 12 recommendations to be considered in a strategic planning of the COVID-19 epidemic. The statement cited that effective coordination at both ground and national levels is the key to success in responding to the outbreak of the virus. The medical body called for the implementation of the World Health Organization's test strategy, which would see an increase in tests to prevent the spread of the disease. The statement read, quote, "Well-coordinated efforts of public health experts from both health department and armed forces should be strengthened for improving the process at a designated quarantine center," end quote.
modified lockdown strategy adopted at the moment is for the purpose of flattening the epidemic curve. But we have to have a long-term effective exit strategy for the maintenance and the smooth functioning of the entire society. And all the responsible people, or even the people, the admins who are on the Facebook and other social media, should behave in a very responsible manner, not to create stigma. Because a lot of stigma, it will be very difficult to manage this epidemic in a successful way.
Meanwhile, Dr. Dushanta Madagedra, a respiratory disease specialist attached to the Kandy General Hospital, expressed these views regarding the spread of the virus.
I
am a respiratory disease specialist. As far as I know, as this is a respiratory illness, a respiratory specialist, a virologist and an epidemiologist are vital parts of this team. As far as I know, there is not a single respiratory disease specialist in that task force. There is no virologist. I don't think the President and the government have been given the appropriate guidance by the task force. I feel that if they did have these resource persons in place, they could have guided them better and prevented it to a greater degree.
ලැබුණා කියන එක අපි පිළිගන්නේ නැහැ. එහෙම ලැබුණා නම් මේ මීට කලින් මං කලින් කිය ආකාරයට වළක්වා ගන්න තිබුණා මීටත් වඩා හොඳ සාර්ථකව.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa met with specialist doctors from several fields to obtain their advice in containing the spread of the coronavirus in the country. The meeting had taken place at the Presidential Secretariat this afternoon.
The President's Media Division said the steps that had been taken by the government, including the health and security agencies, and the future course of action were discussed extensively during the meeting. The specialist doctors had highlighted the importance of carrying out tests on two different groups of people who had been exposed to the affected patients. The President's office said that the President had instructed the health officials to import additional test kits, although sufficient stocks are available, in order to deal with any situation that may arise in the future. The team of specialist doctors had praised the President for his extensive efforts to combat the coronavirus. During the meeting, the doctors had highlighted the importance of protecting areas which have not been affected by the disease. Listing out a 5-step mechanism to defeat the virus, the doctor had pointed out that the people must stay at home as much as possible. Wearing a face mask while traveling, avoiding touching the face, maintaining a distance of 1 meter from each person, and washing hands are other steps in the process.
An event was held in Colombo to launch new innovations that could be used to support the healthcare system and assist in curbing the spread of COVID-19. The event was attended by professionals and experts in these fields.
The event has been organized by the Society for Health Research and Innovation and the Government Medical Officers Association. The products that have been innovated in the recent past were presented to the experts in the field. A large number of experts from the industry, including the Sri Lanka Inventors Commission, Industrial Technology Institute and many others participated in the event.
Although the Tambuttegama and Dambulla dedicated economic centres were closed today, farmers and vendors showed up at the relevant centres.
The Tambuttegama Economic Centre was officially closed, but our reporters could see farmers coming to Tambuttegama to sell their produce besides the centre. While the Dambulla Economic Centre also remained closed, farmers and buyers could be seen trading items beside the centre. Meanwhile, farmers alleged that the program put in place to purchase farmers' produce via divisional secretariats has proven unfruitful. This is how farmers in Na Ulla Hapugasyaya had abandoned their farmlands. We have abandoned the harvest. We have no way of selling it. We took great effort to grow it. We ask a proper price for our produce and a proper system to sell it.
Residents of 8 villages in the Dolua area in Gampola engaged in a protest despite the ongoing curfew. They claimed that the government mechanism to distribute relief is not being conducted in a proper manner.
The protest was staged at the Illagola junction by the residents of the Kalugamuwa, Ganegoda, Pahigamuwa and Pillagola areas in the Dolo Divisional Secretariat. The protesters staged the protest by blocking the Kandy Road. Grama Niladhari officers, public health inspectors and police officers arrived at the location of the protest.
අසම්පහට කිසිම සහනාධාරයක් ලැබිලා නැහැ. දේශපාලන පැත්තෙන් ඇවිල්ලා දීලා යනවා. එහෙම හැම කෙනෙකුටම නෙවෙයි. දුප්පත් මිනිස්සු ගොඩක් ඉන්නවා. ලැබිලා නැහැ. ඒක අසාධාරණයි. දේශපාලන මට්ටම් ගොඩක් බෙදලා තියෙනවා ගමේ. එහෙම අපි දැන් ආරංචි වෙලා තියෙනවා. අපි දැකලා තියෙනවා එහෙම බෙදනවා.
පොදුවේ කිසිම දෙයක් සලකන්නේ නැතුව සමසේ බෙදී යන ක්‍රමයක් හදනවා නම් මේ වගේ මිනිස්සු එක් රැස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන එක තමයි මම මෙලයි කියන්න
ඉද්දි රැස්ලා ඉද්දි ඒකට කොරෝනා සම්බන්ධ දැන් මීටර පතරේ මෙතන නැහැ මේ ඔය ඉන්න කට්ටිය පවුලක එක්කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා නම් ඉන්න ඔය ගොඩ ගහලා ඉන්න එපා මේ තියෙන අවදානම පෙර දැන් අකුරන එක්කෙනෙක් ඉඳා මේ පැත්තම වහන්න උනා තාම පෙරදිනේ පැත්ත විතරයි එහෙම උන්නේ
මේක අසාධාරණයි මිනිසුන්ට කරන දේ මහනුවර දිස්ත්‍රික්කයට අන්තරිමේට දාලා කුලී වැඩ කරගන්න යන්න නැහැ මිනිස්සු කුලී වැඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැ රුපියල් 5000ක් හම්බුනේ සමෘද්ධියෙන් එපමණයි අපිට මේ ගම්වල ඉන්නේ අසරණ මිනිස්සු මේ මත හෙට්ටු කරලා මෙහෙම අපහසුට පත් කරන්න එපා කියලා හැමෝගෙම මං ඉල්ලා හිටිනවා අපි කොස්තම්බල කකා 4 වේලක් ඉඳලා තියෙන අපිට කොහෙන්වත් සහනයක් හම්බුන්නේ නැහැ
කොහමද අපි ගන්නෙ කාල් කිලෝ එකක් 125යි ඔව් පොල්තෙල් බෝතල් අපි කීයක් කරලා හොයාගත්තොත් නේ අපි ඒකවත් ගන්න ඒකවත් ගන්න අපිට කීයක් හොයාගන්න නැහැනේ කුලියක්වත් කරගන්න විදියක් නැහැ අපිට අපි මෙච්චර කාලේ වැලි කොට දාලා ඉවරලා අපි ජීවත් වුණේ දැන් ඒවත් ඔක්කොම වහලා අපි ළමයි 4 දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා ළමයි එන්න මොනවද අපි කන්න දෙන්නේ නිලධාරි වැරදි හින්දා තමයි මේ හැමදේම වෙන්නේ තමන්ගේ පවුලයට විතර බෙදනවා අනිත් අයට බෙදන්නේ නැහැ ඒක රනිමේෂ ජීවත් වෙන්නේ නැද්ද එතකොට හැමෝටම බඩගිනි එකයි හැමෝටම නීතිය එකයි.
On to another headline-making story for tonight. Residents charge that the cooperative outlet in the Katuvelle Gama area in Dewlapitiya has restricted the supply of essential items. They allege that the goods are not issued without the consent of local politicians.
When a group of residents in the Katuvelle Gama area in Dewlapitiya went to collect essential items yesterday, the cooperative outlet did not issue goods. You know Inoka Dasanayaka, only the bills issued by her can be purchased. If not, you can't purchase, because apparently the cooperative is under her. They have bought the supplies, even Indika Anuruddha. The person referred as Inoka by the above employee is Inoka Dasanayaka, who is an SLPP member of the Dewlapitiya Pradeshya Sabha. An opposition member inquired the matter from the chairman of the Dewlapitiya Pradeshya Sabha.
සභාපතිතුමා මේ අපේ දැන් මම කටුවරටම සම්පතවල ඉන්නේ. හරි දැන් මේකේ අපිට බඩු දෙන්නේ නැහැ සභාපතිතුමා. මේකයි සභාපතිතුමා දැන් මෙතන ඉනෝකා මන්ත්‍රීතුමියගෙන් අහලා තමයි මේගොල්ලෝ බඩු දෙන්නේ. හරිද දැන් මුළු ගමම කම්ප්ලේන්ට් කරලා තියෙන්නේ.
Chairman, what is the point of depriving the people in my village of food and essential items during these trying times? All of us undergo the same scenario, even you and I. If you are the chairman and you are unable to control this, there is no point in you staying in your position.
The process of distributing relief items in Balapitiya has been affected due to a dispute between the chairman and the opposition leader of the Pradeshya Sabha in the area. The Balapitiya Pradeshya Sabha launched a program headed by the chairman of the Pradeshya Sabha to distribute dry rations in the Balapitiya, Watugedara and Totamula areas yesterday. However, a group of people, including opposition MP of the Balapitiya Pradeshya Sabha, Gamini Yasaratna, protested against this move. Subsequently, a tense situation took place between both factions. Thereafter, locals who were inconvenienced due to this situation expressed their views to the media. We distribute 30 relief packs among each of the 50 Gramanildara divisions in the area. I decided to hand over these dry rations to families which do not receive the Samurdhi allowance. That is how we were carrying out the distribution process today. There is no political preference given while choosing beneficiaries. The list has been chosen by the Gramanildara officer, the economic development officer and the Samurdhi officer. They say that Gramanildara officers have been informed to choose the beneficiaries among those who do not receive the Samurdhi allowance. Although the list has been taken from the Gramanildara office, the Pradesh Sabha ministers have also prepared separate lists. The list prepared by the Gramanildara officers is not being followed. None of the UNP members have been informed regarding this.
If a list of deserving families is prepared that is amended by a Pradesh Sabha member, there is a problem there. Let the government take the credit, but we must come out of this epidemic together. The president and the state apparatus can get the credit. A Pradesh Sabha member should not come forward when Gramanildara officers should fulfill their duties. At the same time, when the Pradesh Sabha is declared as an institution which provides essential services, then the secretary to the Pradesh Sabha and its members will not have work to do. Politicization does not take place as a result of the beneficial decisions taken from the top, but instead through the activities in the grassroots.
Minister Bandula Gunawardena spoke on monthly loan installments being charged on April's monthly salary.
The government has ordered that the loan installments not be deducted from the April and May salaries. If some individuals have cut those sums, we will inform Cabinet and make arrangements to provide that benefit to them the following month.
Who were arrested in connection with abusing a 13-year-old child in Thanamalvila were remanded till the 16th of April. The Sevanagala police said the group of suspects also included a Pradesh Sabha councillor as well. The victim is a 13-year-old student from the Kiribambava area in Sevanagala. Moving on to more local news, a group of youth were arrested by the police for engaging in a drug racket using a stolen boat.
The suspects had been arrested in the seas of the Puransiku fishing port. This was how the group of youth were brought to the shore by the Negombo police. 3 youths had been taken into custody over the racket. They had stolen a boat and an engine at the Negombo lagoon and had travelled to Mattakkuliya via the Hamilton Canal and the Kalani River to collect the narcotics. They had brought this drug from Mattakkuliya on a stolen boat to distribute it to Negombo. They had gone by boat as they cannot travel by land due to the curfew. The superintendent's office in Negombo is carrying out investigations into the incident.
Many families across the island are battling to make ends meet due to the curfew that has been imposed island-wide. This is the story of one such family.
Nagananda Selvam, a resident of Guhagoda in Katugastota, Kandy, lives in a rented house along with a family of 4. A welder by profession, Naganathan looked after his family and children with a daily wage. But today, the family does not have enough income. After surviving from the cash they received by pawning his wife's jewellery, they are forced to break the till where the children collected money.
This was hard-earned money. We have nothing to eat. We have informed the area Gram Niladari. He noted our names, but we are yet to receive a response. We always skip breakfast. Please provide us relief. We don't know how long this will go on for.
Taking a look at the global situation concerning COVID-19 in general, confirmed corona cases around the world has exceeded 1.5 million.
As of 6 p.m. today, world figures are as follows. Total number of COVID-19 patients stands at 1,532,726. Total number of deaths are at 89,716 and total number recovered stands at 337,471. Top 4 countries include USA, with a population of 327.2 million, have a total tally of 435,160 cases, with 14,797 dead. Total number of recovered stands at 22,891. Spain, with a population of 46.75 million, have 152,446 cases, with 15,238 reported dead. 52,165 have recovered. Italy, with a population of 60.5 million, have 139,422 cases, with 17,669 reported dead. 26,491 have recovered. Germany moved up to 4th place and have a population of 83.8 million, with 113,296 reported cases. 2,349 have died and 46,300 have recovered. Other countries with the highest number of COVID-19 cases are France, China, Iran, the UK, Turkey and Switzerland. Answering a question from the press about US President Donald Trump's threat to freeze US funding to the World Health Organization, Tedros said his message for the world at this moment is unity and solidarity instead of politicizing the virus.
When there is a crack at the national level between political parties, between religious groups, or between other groups, that's when the virus gets a crack that it can exploit and defeat us. So number one is the national unity, working across party lines. I was a politician. I know how difficult this could be. I know it. Although it's difficult, it's the right thing to do. At the end of the day, the people belongs to all political parties. The focus of all political parties should be to save their people. Please don't politicize this virus. It exploits the differences you have at the national level. If you want to be exploited, and if you want to have many more body bags, then you do it. If you don't want many more body bags, then you refrain from politicizing it. Why would I care about being attacked when people are dying?
The Chinese city in northeastern Heilongjiang province, which has seen an influx of imported coronavirus cases from Russia in recent days, is building a temporary hospital to treat those who have been infected. The hospital will provide more than 600 beds and is expected to be completed by the 11th of April. The UK Culture Minister said Prime Minister Boris Johnson was stable and his condition was improving as he engaged with the medical staff tending to him. Indian authorities have identified and sealed dozens of hotspots in the Indian capital and the neighbouring Uttar Pradesh state, comprising of residential districts, to check the rising trajectory of new coronavirus injections. A government statement said people will be supplied food, medicine and other supplies at their doorsteps and they will not be allowed to leave these areas. A United Nations study into the financial and human cost of the COVID-19 pandemic reveals that by the time the pandemic is over, half of the world's population of 7.8 billion people could be living in poverty. About 40% of the new poor could be concentrated in East Asia and the Pacific, with about 1/3 in both the sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. Researchers of the study reveal that the economic crisis will potentially be even more severe than the health crisis.
Let's now take a look at two video clips of former US Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama, which are making the rounds on social media regarding a prediction they had made several years ago in combating a pandemic.
We have to put in place an infrastructure, not just here at home, but globally, that allows us to see it quickly, isolate it quickly, respond to it quickly. So that if and when a new strain of flu, like the Spanish flu, crops up, 5 years from now, or a decade from now, we've made the investment. And we're further along to be able to catch it.
It is vital that our nation discuss and address the threat of pandemic flu now. There is no pandemic flu in our country or in the world at this time. But if we wait for a pandemic to appear, it will be too late to prepare.
The European Union and its member states have provided a grant of 22 million euros to Sri Lanka to tackle the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic and mitigate the effects of the crisis. Targeting 3 sectors, the EU will be providing 2 million euros to Sri Lanka for equipment and medical supplies to be procured by the World Health Organization and to strengthen laboratory networks in the country. A grant of 16.5 million euros will be provided to Sri Lanka's agricultural sector, while a grant of 3.5 million euros will be provided to support Sri Lanka's tourism industry, in particular the smaller operators and their employees. The statement added that some of the assistance will be provided immediately and the rest will be delivered later in the year and will continue thereafter.
A myth that has been making its rounds has been that spraying alcohol or chlorine all over your body can kill the new coronavirus. This is completely false, as spraying alcohol or chlorine all over your body will not kill the virus that has already entered your body. Spraying such substances can be harmful to clothes or mucous membranes like your eyes and mouth. Be aware that both alcohol and chlorine can be useful to disinfect surfaces, but they need to be used under appropriate recommendations. Another rumor is that vaccines against pneumonia protect you against the new coronavirus. Vaccines against pneumonia do not provide protection against the new coronavirus. The virus is so new and different that it needs its own vaccine. Researchers are trying to develop a vaccine against COVID-19, and the World Health Organization is supporting their efforts. Although these vaccines are not effective against COVID-19, vaccination against respiratory illnesses is highly recommended to protect your health.
Many artists representing the contemporary generation have lent us their voices to support our Gammadda Rise Up Sri Lanka endeavour. We leave you tonight with that short video clip. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Jama Ratnayaka along with our sign language interpreter Taraka Gabriel. Take care and good night.
Atarin hinahi nagitimu Sri Lanka Priyasaka Sankha Badaka Atarin nagitimu Sri Lanka Hitamu idiriyama ekawanna nagitimu Sri Lanka Heta idivanna navalokaya hamuve nagitimu Sri Lanka Nagitimu Sri Lanka Sri Lanka Bathroom Kanada Marida Palpale Ended Sri Lanka. It's time for us to hope and pray and heal our motherland. We must unite and march ahead, arise Sri Lankans land. Nagitimu Sri Lanka, Nagitimu Sri Lanka.
Gammadda, Nagitimu Sri Lanka.